It is vlog number 98. I am Ben Deach, and before we get into the video this week, I want to come right out of the gate and tell you about a crazy hand that happened last week. Something that you just never see in terms of how this played out. So, it starts when Under the Gun 2 ends up making a $15 raise, and he's been playing a lot of hands. The low jack calls, and I have ace jack offsuit in the hijack, and I call. So we're 3 ways to a flop that comes ace of hearts, jack of hearts, deuce of spades, giving me top 2. I mentioned Under the Gun plus 2's been playing a lot of hands, and he's been betting big, and he had just felted a guy when he overbet the hell out of the pot and got paid off because of his image. He comes out firing here and bets 200 into this pot of only about 50 bucks. And the low jack sees this overbet, and what does he do? Overbets it himself. He makes it 600. And I'm sitting here with top 2, and now it's on me. Obviously, the possibility that the low jack has pocket deuces here has occurred to me. But he knows how crazy this other guy's been playing. He knows the feel of the game. The game flow is real in this spot. So there's no way that I'm folding top 2 here, to say the least. It's just a question of should I raise or not. Now, we're playing about 1,000 deep, and I'm already stuck big on the day at this point anyway, but I'd rebought. And I didn't want to risk blowing this other guy out of the hand, when clearly me and the low jack are going to play a big pot. So I elect to just call the 600, not wanting to risk him folding. Well, that didn't matter, because after I made that call, he jammed all in. The low jack snap calls, and I snap call as well. So we're sitting here with a $3,000 pot on ace jack deuce, and I have ace jack. Well, the turn comes a jack, and plus 2 then starts celebrating like he's Terrell Owens having scored a touchdown. But he fails to realize what I have. As it turned out, he had the jack deuce. The other guy, the low jack, had ace deuce, and I had ace jack. So we all flop 2 pair. 3 guys all flopping 2 pair at a $3,000 pot headed to me as a result. It has not been a perfect December, but poker-wise, it's been unbelievable. Vlog 98. Recording this on New Year's Eve 2020. Obviously the last session I'm playing for this year, a year that's been memorable for me, good and bad. Reasons I unfortunately can't get into at the moment. Poker-wise, obviously not great. With the exception of this month. So, I guess that's the question. Can I finish strong with the win to wrap up 2020 on New Year's Eve? I sure as hell think so. It was a subdued New Year's Eve compared to what we normally expect at the Peppermill Poker Room, but the ladies still made a point to dress for the occasion. I got a decent amount of big hands early before I got into a seat from which I could film. One player likely felt I was raising way too much and took a stand against me with his $500 stack with his pocket jacks. Problem for him was I happened to have pocket aces at the time, and they held, and we were up $500 early. Later on, I changed seats, and 8-handed, I pick up pocket kings under the gun 1 and raise to 20. Hijack calls, so with 45 in, the flop is slightly above average, coming king 9-9 with 2 clubs. I figured this was an ideal spot to slow play, hoping that he makes something. So I check, and the hijack checks it back, of course. The turn is the 10 of spades, and I bet 30 here, which he proceeds to call. So with 105 in, the river is another 9. He only has $125 left here, and it stands to reason that if he has the case king, he's not going to fold it. So I go for gold and bet him all in. He thinks forever about it, and finally folds what I presume was not the case king. We get an under-the-gun raise to $15, and I have king-jack in the cutoff. I make the call, as does the big blind. So with 45 in, it comes Jack 3-4 Rainbow, giving me top pair. Big blind checks, under the gun bets 30, and calling seems like the clear choice here, so that's what I do. The big blind folds, and with 105 in, the turn's a queen, and he checks. I decide to bet 35 here, hoping to keep a hand like 9s or 10s in there, and he ends up check calling. So with 175 in, the river is the ace of spades, and now he bets out for 90. I didn't figure he would turn a hand like 9s or 10s into a bluff here, and it's hard to put him on a missed straight draw having raised under the gun. So, unfortunately, I opt to let it go. Next hand comes when we get an under the gun limp and a raise to 15 from +1, which is very odd. Then we get a call from +3 and the hijack. And I have pocket 10s in the cutoff. Definitely got a 3-bet it here. I make it 60. The limper and the original raiser both fold. Now +3 is an OMC, and the last guy that I expected to call, but he ends up doing just that. The hijack folds, so we have 155 in, and we go heads up to Jack 7-8 with 2 hearts. And my $75 bet wins a somewhat unusual hand. Then we get a limp, and I'm in the low jack with King 10 offsuit. Now given the fact that this is the best hand I've seen in about an hour, I figured it wouldn't be the worst thing to get a little loose here. So I make it 25. The hijack snap calls, as does the limper, which obviously I don't like. But with 80 in, I saw something I did like. A King 10-7, 2-heart flop. Gets checked to me, and I'm going to fast play it here. I bet 50. Hijack calls, and the other player folds. So we have 180 in, and the turn comes the deuce of spades, and I bet 100. The hijack makes the call. So with 380 in, the river is the 6 of spades, bringing in backdoor spades. I bet 110, hoping he'd still consider paying off with a hand like King-Queen. He does call, so we have a $500 pot, and he ends up having Ace-King that he didn't raise pre-flop with, and we end up taking one down with a hand we probably shouldn't have played in the first place. Next hand I got a late start on filming, so we'll have to go straight to the flop. I have King 10 of spades this time, and again I flop top 2. I check raise the bet of a VIP to 125, and he calls on King 10-4, 2 diamonds. So we have a $320 pot, and the turn comes to 6 of diamonds. I down bet here, given the fact that he's almost always betting his flush draws on the flop, and he could have a lot of flushes. I make it 105, and he just calls. So we have a $530 pot, and the river is a brick, a 3 of spades, pretty much what I was hoping to see. Now I'm still going to be good here against him the majority of the time, given how he plays. And I'm definitely still going to go for value. So I bet $155, which he absolutely snap calls. So we have an $840 pot, and given the speed of the call, I started to sense what was going on, as he shows Queen 8 of diamonds for the second nuts, which he played in a very cautious way. With the quality of the game not that good, and looking to get even worse as the night went on, I opt to rack up and book one final win in the year 2020. All right, so cashing out, booking a $357 win, and I will not complain about that. A win on New Year's Eve, nice way to wrap up the year. I feel like I've never really had a great New Year's Eve, so I'll take a win when I can get it. Hell, I feel like maybe the most fun New Year's Eve I ever had came back in the year 99 to 2000 when I was in high school. The Y2K New Year's Eve I'm still thinking about. Fun house party I was at that year. And of course the last few have just been playing poker. And the last several have been way better than we had today. The games today were terrible. I got lucky with that pocket aces hand, which I didn't get on film, because I had gotten just a bunch of big hands in a row and a guy didn't believe that I had anything, and I was able to felt him. Ended up pretty much being the story of the day. So certainly I would imagine that we're not going to find another New Year's where the games are this lousy due to the masks, the plexiglass, and everything else. And in this particular case, one of our big VIPs playing extremely tight here at the Peppermill. uncharacteristically tight, like you saw in that hand where I flopped the kings and tens and he turned the flush, didn't even raise the river with the second nuts. Crazy. That will wrap it up for this edition of the vlog, and of course for 2020. Really appreciate you guys all sticking with me. Has not been an easy year, I know, for any of us, and I'm no exception to that. So really appreciate you guys watching, I really do. And hey, we're back at it in 2021. Hit the like and subscribe buttons if you could, I'd really appreciate it, and we'll see you then.